Hey, and thanks for clicking on Hey, Melissa Crochets. I appreciate you wanting to spend some time watching my video. Here is my favorite from last week. This is week 4 now of the Amigurumi Torture Challenge. I have been making amigurumi now for probably close to a month. Am I enjoying it? Somewhat. I would say I'm probably 50-50 right now. Of course, there are some patterns I enjoy more than others, but I think that's with any part of crochet or knitting or whatever. This will be my final week doing this torture challenge. I do have something scheduled for next week and then, weeks after that. If I do have some gaps in my content creation, I do plan on making a few more of these as like a 1 week thing. So maybe someday in the future you'll see some more of these little cuties. And then once I do a 1-day market with all these that I have made, I will do a market recap video just about that. So I'm excited to get into week 4. We ran out of little thumbnails that we were, Larry was pulling from the little buckets. Larry's my dog if you haven't watched any of my series. So he's been pulling little thumbnails that I've selected like from YouTube and stuff. So this week is mainly all written patterns. I think there might be 1 or 2 video tutorials. So we're gonna get to it and have some fun. Something I mentioned last week that I need to do this week is pull down all of the partial skeins that I have of Bernat blanket because I do want to use these up during this amigurumi challenge. Of course, there's gonna be a lot extra that I don't get to, but that's just the way it is. So I want to pull all these down and then look at the patterns that we have for the week and see, what I want to allot for this and allot for that. And then I'm still going to get Larry to pick them, the yarns, because there's going to be multiple yarns that work good for a dragon, for example. So let's get to it. I have everything pulled down now, and I'm going to show you them individually. If I know what color it is, I'll say it. If I don't, I'll try to put a screenshot up here. So I should move my chair over because I run into that problem all the time. So let's get to it. Also, you may have noticed my arm. I have it taped up. Don't worry, I'm fine. It was not a crochet or knitting injury. I use a CPAP machine when I sleep, and where I have the distilled water in the bathroom, I pick it up so stupidly every single night, and then I'm like, ow. So I need to adjust the way I pick it up because positioning matters. But I'm fine, don't worry. Okay, first we have this one. This was like an off shade that I got for free from my former workplace. I believe this one is Mossy Path, maybe. I believe it's Bernat Baby Blanket. This one is, I don't know the name. So it is nice though, it's gray and white. We've already made one plushie with it. Do you think I remember which one it was? No, I don't think I can. This is Bernat Blanket Tweeds. This is the one, Ivory Tweed, Ivory. It's a really nice one. It's white with like blue. I really like this one. This one, I believe, is Bernat Baby Blanket in the color Sunset. It's one of the newer ones. It is really nice, and this is all I have. I did make myself a winter cowl out of it already because I love these colors. I love purple, pink, and orange. This is one of the newer Bernat Blanket Tweeds, and it is called Sea Tweed, like S-E-A, like ocean sea tweed. It's really nice. I love the tweeds. Like they're so fluffy, but not too fluffy. Because there's like, I've never used it, but I've seen somebody else use Posh yarn from Joann's, and it was so, like, she couldn't see the stitches when she was shading something for like an octopus tentacle because of how fluffy that yarn is. So I like the tweeds as a better option. This is a full skein, but I can't really put this into like a cardigan and feel good about it because it's just ugly to me. I believe this one is called Little Sand Castles. I believe it's Bernat Baby Blanket. Or it might be called Beach Day. No, maybe Beach Day. I don't know. But either way, I'm going to put the screenshot up here because I don't want to give you the wrong information. This one we've already used on the cute little dinosaur with the green spikes. I'll put a picture of him up here for you. This was like a, what was this one? This was Bernat Blanket Brights in Busy Blue. Yeah, Busy Blue, that's what it's called. Here's another Bernat Blanket Tweed, and that is Woodland Tweed. That's probably one of my favorite ones. It's so pretty and it works up so nice. This one, I have no idea what it's called. In my mind, it's called Ugly or Mud. Super ugly, but I think honestly I might save it for some loaf cats because it's brown and speckled, and or a cow would be really cute. So either way, I think this would make a really good animal. This one we used for the adorable dragon in week 3. Yeah, week 3. All the weeks trying to blend together. So I just have a little bit of this left. So I might put this into my husband's blanket that I'm making him. I know it's pink and red, but he don't care. I don't care either. I really don't think it might be big enough for like a mini octo, but I don't plan on making any of those. So I might just put it back in my bucket here because my little mini scraps are also in here. Or I could make another scrappy project. This is Bernat Blanket tie-dye-ish in the color lavender. I just have this little bit left after making a cardigan. And I don't know what I would make, what animal I would make with this. Maybe like a big heart pillow or something, since it's not an animal, but you know. I don't know what amigurumi I would make with this. And this one is Bernat Blanket Purple Sunset. Might be baby blanket, but I don't think it is. Either way, it's called Purple Sunset. That I know. This is from one of these ombres that you see right here. So this blue ombre, this is from the outside of one of those. I think it's from a green, actually. Now, it's hard to do when the camera's reversed. So I'm pretty sure from the inside of one of the greens. I had made a cardigan. Yeah, I made a cardigan, so yeah, it was green. And that's what's left over. So it has a bit of a tinge to it, like it's not fully white. Like I wanted to use it the other day on something. I thought about making a bunny out of it, like a white bunny, but it's not really white. You can see more of the green on the inside there. This is also Bernat Blanket Tweed. This is one of the new ones as well. This is Dove Tweed. It's like Dove the bird. This is Bernat Blanket, or maybe Bernat Baby Blanket. I think it's called Pebbled Path. I might be completely wrong because I remember we used it for something and then I was like, oh, it's called this, but then I was completely wrong. So I'll put the screenshot up here because it's still on my computer. And the rest of it is just tiny little scrap pieces that I've been gathering since Scrappy Bear. So I'll just show it to you there. So there's a little bit in there, not a whole lot. I don't know if I'll get to this in this series, but we'll see. If I decide to do the scrappy project, then I'll obviously grab these. So those are all the yarns that I want to use up during this Amigurumi challenge. As you know, want to use up, but I won't be able to use up all these. But it'll be interesting to see what Larry picks for, you know, the patterns that I have chosen for this week. I already have all the patterns chosen, and I cut them up into the little bucket, and I'll get him to pick one later. Right now he's napping, so he had a play date all day with his best friend. Oh, here he comes. So I think you heard the word pick one. First plushie of the week I wasn't planning on doing today, but unfortunately my plans got canceled for this afternoon. My friend was going to come up and we were going to have an afternoon of stitching and bitching, as we call it. But winter here in Canada ruined our plans. She was on her way and had to turn around because the roads got closed. So sucks. We'll have to reschedule. But if you're watching this, Cassie, I'm sorry you couldn't come. It sucks. I wanted to make a bunny because, you know, Easter's coming up, and every time I'm filming here and I look behind, I think my bat is a bunny and I don't know why. So I was like, you know what, at some point I'm gonna make a bunny. So super cute. I love, love, love the way this turned out. The pattern is by Cozy Crochet by Jay. I used, of course, Chateau Bornay's safety eyes, and they have like little snowflakes on these. And I've been saving these eyes to like to use on something like cute like this. And then I had just enough of this yarn. It's Bernat Baby Blanket in the color Cloud 9. And just so, so cute. I'm 99% sure that's what it is, like the color. But if not, I'll put a screenshot up here. But if there's no screenshot up here, please know it is Cloud 9. Larry is super tired after his play date today. But he still doesn't want to feel left out. That's why he's in here not snoozing right now like he's supposed to be. But I'm going to get him to pick one. And then he can rest on the couch as I make it. Okay, sir? Can you please pick one? Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's see what he picked. Okay, Hubble the Squid. I seen this, I don't know, forever ago on the interwebs, and I was like, that is super cute. So it is a free pattern. It is a written pattern, but that's okay. I'll just watch a movie while making this. Okay, sir, can you pick one? For Hubble the Squid. Okay, Larry picked this one, which is like a gray and white. Very nice. Thank you, Larry. But I did finish Hubble the Squid last night. It didn't take long at all. I was a little concerned because the pattern, when you download it, it's 26 pages, but it had a lot of like tips and stuff in it, so I just grabbed what I needed to grab from it. And yeah, the body was pretty easy to make. The tentacles you made separate and then sewed them into a round, so that worked out. I did not realize that squids also have 8, I guess, arms and then 2 tentacles. I always thought, for some reason, my whole life I've always thought squids only had 6, and that's how you tell the difference between octopi and squid. But I'm not a marine biologist, so I learn something new every day. I chose really big eyes. This is the first time it's happened to me. I accidentally put one down like a different row, but it's the first time it's happened. So of course these are from Chateau Bornay, and they are 20mm eyes. I wanted like big goofy eyes on this guy because he's so cute. And then on the written pattern, they had given you instructions for embroidered eyes that you make and put on. So you can see them here, what I'm talking about. But I wanted to use up some of these safety eyes because I just think they're prettier. And yeah, sure, now it's not baby safe, but because of the size and Bernat blanket, nobody's gonna give this to a baby. Like, it's quite tall, so. Turned out really great, and I love this little guy. I did run out of this yarn here, the main body color, but that's okay. I just switched to a different scrap, and I think it turned out great because then the tentacles are a different color, so. Yay for Hubble the squid. Okay, Larry, you ready to pick the pattern today? Can you pick one? Yes, pick one. I know you're tired, but I want you to pick one for me. Okay, pick one. Thank you. Let's see what you picked. Okay, Easy No Sew Crochet and Goose. And that is by Rose and Lily Crochet. So we know it's going to be a great tutorial. Okay, Larry, we have 2 options for the body. So the tweed and then the cream. But then for the beak, we're going to take from that gold. So can you pick one of those, please? You pick one. Go pick a yarn. Which one are you going to pick? It's for a goose. Which one? Can you pick one? When you pick one, you gotta bring it to me. Thank you. We're gonna use that for the beak. Good boy. Can you pick one more? Okay, pick one. I need one more. Yes, I know. You picked that one already. We get one more for the body of the goose. Can you go pick one? Oh, we're gonna stick with the tweeds. I don't know if I'm gonna use the tweed that he picked, only because for a goose, maybe I want to use that cream over there, but I didn't want him to feel left out. You're so cute. I've now finished my little goose. He's pretty cute. I kind of wish he was a bit more flat. I didn't stuff him a whole lot, but like this is old Bernat formula yarn, so honestly I think that has a lot to do with it. And luckily the mustard stuff I had as well was also Bernat old formula, so like it matches. The tutorial and design is by Rose and Lily Crochet, and it was pretty easy. I think I got them done within an hour, so adorable. I like the way he turned out, and his wings are so cute and flappy. So there you have it. I used a size 7mm with him, and no safety eyes because I wanted to be baby safe, so I just did little embroidered eyes, and the legs were a lot easier than I thought they would be. Honestly, you just chain 8 and then 3 double, well, this is one thing I did modify. You're supposed to do 2 double crochet into the 3rd stitch, but I did 3 because I just like the way it looked better. And that's it. That's all I have to say. There's really nothing else. I didn't make any other modifications, and it was super easy to follow. So thanks to Rose and Lily Crochet for this great tutorial. So you may remember this guy from week 2 or 3. I don't remember what week. He is by Kane Crochet and is a pattern designer only on YouTube. I tried to look for a website for a written pattern because my sister asked for one for her birthday in like a teal and a pink color. So I got this little guy finished. He's super cute. I really love the way he turned out. I used safety eyes on this one because if you remember, this was actually a keychain tutorial and I never even thought about the safety eyes until I had this guy finished. So he's baby safe at least, so super cute. I love that one. And so I used I believe these are a 22 millimeter, of course, from Chateau Bornay. And they are like a rose gold, and I thought they matched the belly patch really well. I had another great option that was like sparkly, so I made Larry pick which one I was going to put on. So he picked these ones that are non-sparkly, but they still suit really well. So I decided to give this to her for her birthday. So I got this guy done on the same day as the goose because we have nowhere to go today, so it was a good day to do it. Interestingly enough, this is new Bernat formula, and then this is older Bernat formula. So there is a bit of a size difference. Not a huge difference, but you can see that there is a difference there. But they're both adorable, so it doesn't matter, but I wanted to show you the bit of a difference. You can really see it in the head. On to the next one. Okay, Larry, we're gonna pick the one for next time we do this. I don't think it'll be tomorrow, but maybe the day after. Thank you. Good boy. Okay, this is by the Nicole Chase. It's Parker the Parasaurolophilus. I have no idea how to pronounce that, but I thought he was a super cute dinosaur pattern, so that's what we'll be making next. So we're gonna pick the yarn next, aren't we, Larry? Pick a yarn. Yes, pick one. Pick one. Good boy. Sit. I think Larry made a great choice. We're going to go with whatever this one's called. I think Sunset. And this is an off shade I have. Very good. Thank you, Larry. Good boy. It is now the next day, and I finished my dinosaur. I'm going to try to pronounce the name of the dinosaur, see how I do. I was practicing before this, but of course it's not going to work now. Parasaurolophus. Parasaurolophus. Can't say that fast now. I have to like break it down. Parasaurolophus. So it's a dinosaur. I'm not a paleontologist, so I don't know how to pronounce all these things. He turned out really well. I love him. He's just adorable. These are 40 millimeter eyes. In the mystery pack I bought from Chateau Bornay. The mystery pack said they could come damaged or they could be just extras. And like each of the eyes does have a little tiny scratch on it, but I knew that going in because I bought a mystery pack and she donated so many of them to me, so I'm not upset about it or anything, but adorable. So cute. I love the way he turned out. I did a lot of modifications on this that I can't even talk about because there were so many. But this was a Melissa mistake. So on the Nicole Chase's website, she has two different options. She has the regular version, and then she has a mini version. So I, pulled up the mini version, and I was like, no, I want to make something that's a little bit bigger. But I didn't realize how big, like the regular size one would be. So originally she wanted you to get to 42 stitches in the body, and I only had one skein of Sunset, and clearly I ran out, so I had to put in red ribbon, like this red here, but it looks fine. So so I was like 42, I was like, that's a lot. I'm not gonna have enough yarn if I do that. And still didn't have enough yarn. So I got the body to 36 and then decreased it to 18. That's fine. The head she wanted to get the head to 60 because you started the snout, nose, I don't know. And then you work your way back, and then the crest is attached separately. So I think I got the head to, I think I did 30 stitches. I was not going to do the 60 because that's just way too much. That's a little insane for me. The tail, I did to pattern. Yeah, so if you make this, just know that the regular size Parker, the Parasaurolophilus, is quite large. So I would definitely do the mini version if you're going to attempt this one. I never even looked at the mini version to see, like, maybe I did make the mini version, but I doubt it. So a lot of it I did end up freehanding just because, in the body I skipped probably like 8 to 10 rows, and then worked my way. As I said, I got to 30 stitches, or 36, I don't remember, and it got down to 18. I didn't do much with the arms or legs and like modifying or anything. I may have added one extra round on the arms. Yeah, pretty sure I did, but that's okay. He turned out just so great. I really don't like how floppy the head is. We did get down to 18 stitches and then sew it on, but this thing turns out so heavy because this off shade I have is like Bernat Old formula, so it's quite heavy. And I tacked down his head as much as I could, but if he's just gonna sit on somebody's shelf, I think it's fine. I really like putting the toes on, like the little claws or nails or whatever you want to call them. I just did it with this scrap yarn right here. This is coming in really handy. I've used this on almost every pattern, like this week at least. So just adorable. I love the way he turned out. Would I make him again? Yeah, I would, but I probably would do the mini version, as I said. But either way, I love him. He's probably the biggest one I've made so far. I guess the Toothless Dragon is close to the same size. And I'd say this guy's still bigger. Like this guy, of course, is longer, but you can see there's still a big size difference. And then the other large one that I made was my Snuggle Cow. So they're pretty comparable, but this guy probably has more stitches in him. Like he's definitely heavier. And this guy's not stuffed. So I'm pleased with this pattern. I definitely want to try more of Nicole's patterns. Everybody writes their pattern instructions differently. And I think that is something that I have been struggling with, but we'll talk about that on like the recap when I do that coming up in a bit. I'm going to pick the pattern for myself today because Larry's at daycare. He's had a bit of an attitude problem this week, so I was like, you know what? We both need a bit of a break from each other. So I dropped him off Thursday night and I'm picking him up Sunday evening. Dropped him off Thursday morning. Yeah, Thursday morning, yesterday morning, today's Friday. I pick him up Sunday evening, so 3 nights, 4 days. He's usually a little bit mad at me for like a day after that I, pick him up because he's like, you abandoned me. But I had fun, but you abandoned me. So he's just full of sass. He is 25% mini poodle, so he's very smart and he's full of sass. Let's put it that way. He's a smart little turd. It's very difficult with him some days, but that's okay. I love him anyway. So I'm going to do Percy the pig, and this is by Old Soul Factory, Tara T. I watch her on YouTube all the time, and I was like, you know what? I really want to do one of her patterns just to see how it goes. And actually I did start it this morning. It's coming along really well. I love the way she has this pattern done up, but we'll talk more about that in just a bit. I finished Percy the pig, and he's just so, so cute. I love the way that he turned out. This is by Old Soul Factory. I watch Tara T all the time here on YouTube, as I mentioned just a bit ago. I'll put the screenshot up here of Percy. This is a pattern I did purchase. I wanted to see how Tara's patterns work up, and I loved working this pattern for a good number of reasons. 1, the pattern PDF was super colorful and pretty. 2, it wasn't too complex and complicated. Like some pattern designers that I've seen on written patterns, there's just too much there. And for somebody like myself who's diagnosed and medicated ADHD, it's really overwhelming. And then you don't want to work that pattern. And it sucks because you don't know that when you purchase it. But Tara's was really great and just super simple and easy to follow. And she even had charts and stuff for the charts that had like the stitches. If you crochet, you know what I'm talking about. I never use those because they're too complicated for me. But yeah, it was really good. It was really well written and easy to understand. So the only thing you had to sew on was the head to the body. Everything else was worked in the round. So like the tails worked in the round, the ears were worked in the round. It was designed so well. Something I really, really like, and I'm surprised nobody else has done this that I've seen anyway, is when you're doing, so like the snout, piggy snout here, and then also the legs. So how you get this is you do a round of half double crochets, and then since that creates a third loop essentially on the back of the stitch, you work the next row into that, and then it forms that. And like as I was working it, I got like 2 rows in and I was like, wow, this is the snout. That is so cool. And like the same thing for the legs, because they have like, now he has like little hawks and stuff, so just adorable. And I would definitely make this again. I definitely want to do more of Tara's patterns just because of how well this worked up, and like in the pattern is pretty accurate. She says this is probably about an hour and 10 minutes to make. And yeah, mine was probably about an hour and maybe like 15, just because, eating breakfast in between and this and that, and just so adorable. The ears were a bit complicated to understand, like when I worked the first one. But, I did it stitch by stitch, it really helps. If you're making amigurumi and you can't figure out certain stitches or any crochet pattern, I guess, to say the stitches out loud to yourself, because sometimes you read it and you're like, it just all blends together. But if you read the stitches out loud to yourself, that really, really does help. So then your brain kind of starts comprehending it a bit more. But like as soon as the ear was done and like you slip stitch back into the like the top of the head here, I was like, oh wow, that does look like a piggy ear. So Tara, if you ever see this, this is an amazing pattern. Thank you so much. Great designer. I really appreciated this pattern. So now I finally have a little piggy. I do want to talk about the yarn that I used for this because this is not Bernat blanket. I moved around a skein of yarn so I could put my piggy up there. I think it looks so cute next to the bat. So this yarn is Mainstay, so from Walmart, velvet yarn. And it is quite thick. I would consider it still a bulky 6. I wouldn't consider it a jumbo 7. I don't know what it's listed as online. I'll put a screenshot here so you can go look at it. But that being said, I was recently in Walmart, or not Walmart, well, yeah, both. I was recently in Michael's, what I was trying to say, and I was looking at their yarn because I've never actually worked with Chenille Home or Chenille Home Slim. I don't like the way the Slim works. It's just so slippery. I hate it, so I won't use it. But I was looking at Chenille Home, and I was considering getting one skein, just for, you know, this challenge and stuff. But I was like, nah, it's not worth it. I'm not going to bother. But this very much reminds me of Chenille Home, but nicer. It doesn't shed as much, because if you worked with Chenille Home, you know how much it sheds. This one really doesn't. Like, it sheds when you really pull on it, but like, it's not, like, I didn't have any fluffies on me as I was working with it. Maybe a little bit at the end when I was cutting out all the tails from the piggy and, like, you know, the underside when you sew everything in. And yeah, so I really like this yarn. I would definitely buy some of it if I needed to. This piece I got from my aunt. You would have seen that in the How Much Yarn in January Plus yarn haul from my aunt video. And I knew this was the perfect time to use it because the piggy pattern called for about 59 yards. And I think in here there's 71 yards. Well, there was. So I had some left and I wanted to use it on the piggy because I didn't have any Bernat blanket that would have worked for it unless I used this one right here. And it's like a variegated, so I didn't want to use it. I wanted to use something solid. And when my aunt gave this to me, there was, like, she bought it on clearance because there's a whole bunch of, like, dirt on it. But the dirt was around probably, like, the last, like, 10 yards or so. So I was like, you know what, it's going to work. And there's no dirt on the piggy, and I haven't seen any, because the inside of this case still looks really neat. But it's mainly on the outer pieces here that, you know, had the dirt and stuff on it. So that worked out really nice. I was really pleased with that pattern, as I said. I definitely want to do more of Tara's patterns when I, you know, do any more Amigurumi someday. So thank you so much, Tara at Old Soul Factory. I completely forgot to mention his eyes. I was looking at him and I was like, oh, he's so pretty. I love his sparkle eyes. So, of course, from Chateau Bornet. All the safety eyes you see in the series are from her shop. And I love these. They're like a gold glitter, bronze glitter maybe. But yeah, they're really nice. They are a size 14 millimeter. I noticed when I was going through my safety eyes for this guy, I was like, I'm running out of the sizes I prefer. So 14 millimeter and up. Anything smaller than that is just not working for me, just because everything that I've made has been like large and with Bernat blankets. So there are a few I think I still will use, like 12s, some 10s, then I'll like super glue those in, rather than, you know, just forcing them through and then having them pop out of a stitch. That's why I really like these larger eyes. I knew at the end of this challenge I would want to do a, you know, kind of like a recap. So I had been taking notes and making notes and, you know, trying to remember exactly what I tell myself I want to put on here. So pretty sure I have everything out of my brain and onto this slideshow. So as the days and projects went on, I did gain confidence, which was, you know, great to see and experience. I started modifying patterns to suit what I enjoyed doing during the process. I learned what I liked and I disliked really fast. I do acknowledge that everyone's opinions and needs are different. So a lot of the things that I did like is here on the screen, and I liked when the limbs were worked into the round. So you made the limbs first, then you attach them to the body when you're crocheting the body. That was definitely my favorite thing. I think I only made like a few patterns like that. I wish they were all like that, but what can you do? I do, of course, like when video tutorials have the stitches on the screen, like for each individual row. I know I've said this multiple times now, but honestly, that's just so helpful. So you can pause the screen and then quickly go back to, you know, crocheting, unpause the screen, keep working. So that for me is probably like the biggest thing. I really enjoy when written patterns have lots of color. I really enjoyed the one from Old Soul Factory, the Percy the Pig. He had a lot of color in like the pattern, and to me, it just brightens my day. I really like working with Bernat Blanket new formula. The older formula, if you work with it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just too stiff and it's hard on your hands. So the newer, fluffier stuff is much nicer. I like when designers show you on the tutorials how to do complex stitches slowly. Because there was some where like that had said like, oh, there's a different type of stitch coming up. Just so you know, you have to do this, this, and this, and then they quickly whip through it. And sometimes you can, you can always edit the playback speed here on YouTube, but a lot of the times it's still not enough, or their hands are in the way, and like that's annoying. I figured out most of them myself just from having crochet experience, so it wasn't hard for me. But I think if there's complex stitches and you're a beginner and they don't show it to you slowly, that's really tough. So I really did enjoy seeing One Cent Crochet and Lily and Rose Crochet. They were really good at explaining stitches like that. So that stuck with me. So thanks to them for that. And I really like no sew patterns compared to the high amount of sewing patterns. I hear people talk about like that like and dislike for the no sew, low sew, etc. When I watch people here on YouTube, and now I understand. It's just so time consuming. Moving on to the dislikes, a lot of these did surprise me, just because I didn't know what I would like going into this challenge. So let's get into it. I don't like surface crocheting, especially teeny tiny little pieces. That's really tough. I would rather surface crochet teeny tiny little pieces though, rather than crocheting them separately and then sewing them on, because it's just so hard. So at the bottom of this page was the monster from week 1 that did not turn out, but what can you do? I don't like where designers don't tell you where to attach the limbs. There was a few patterns I did, and they're like, and just sew the arms onto the side. And I'm like, okay, starting where though? Because yes, you can kind of move your finger around like the plushie around the back of it and like kind of gauge exactly where you did the first one. But honestly, it's really tough. I had the hardest time with the ears when the ears were sewn on separately, getting those to line up, just because a lot of the heads that you make, you start from like the nose to the back of the head, or you start from like the bottom of the head and work your way up. And there's not really a guideline there. So I think that was really tough. I very much preferred when a pattern would say, start stitching the arms starting at row 12, working them down to row 8, because there's 4 stitches, for example. So even that little bit of help, I think, makes a big difference for somebody as a beginner. Written patterns having too many distracting details. There was one written pattern that I worked with, and the printed pattern, when you looked at it, it was supposed to be 26 pages. And I was like, felt so overwhelmed. I was like, okay, well, if it's 26 pages long, I'm not making this thing. So, I scrolled through them, and like you only needed 2 pages out of that pattern. And I can understand, that they're, advertising other things on their website, or, just other things and like tips and stuff, but 26 pages is just way too much. Can you imagine if I would have pressed print on that? I would have been mad. The next one is quote magic quote rings. They're not magic. They suck. I hate them. I only did about 4 of these the entire series, like the first week. And then like I seen somebody else, they chained 2 and then worked into the first slip knot. And I was like, yes, please. So that's exactly what I did for basically everything except for about 4 times, as I said in the very beginning. Patterns that get down to less than 18 stitches on the neck. Yeah, you've heard me talk about this multiple times. When there was a pattern that wanted you get down to like 16 or like 12 or 14 or 8, I was like, no. And I kept everything at 18, just because when you're working with a Bernat blanket and like, you stuff the body and then the neck is down to less than 18 stitches, like the head just flops around and like you have to tack it down so much. So I learned that real fast. I think I had honestly started that before doing this series, like that thought, because of other things I've made in the past, not for this series. Patterns with 3 or more pieces to sew on. If you make amigurumi, I'm sure you can understand that. There are certain ones that I did that had like 6 or 8. I'm like, oh, why? This could have been worked into the pattern, but I'm not the one who designed it. So I do look for low sew or no sew. I completely understand why people say that now. Safety eyes under 14 millimeter. So yeah, I feel like this one might be a little bit more controversial just because, I did use some 12s. I don't think I used any 10, 9, 6, 8. I didn't use any of those. I did try to, maybe I'd use 9 millimeter in the snail that I made for myself because I knew I was keeping it and I had to like hot glue it in. But I find with like even when I'm using like a smaller hook, I think the smallest hook size I used in the series was 6 millimeter, and like they still pulled through the yarn, like the safety eyes of those smaller sizes. So I really don't know what else to do about that besides hot gluing them in. So I do have quite a few of the smaller ones left over after this challenge is done, and I will use them. I probably will end up hot gluing them in, and try to use the back as much as I can, but then of course still hot glue it in. I wanted to share some useful tips. Since I'm a beginner at all this, I thought, if anybody else is watching and they're wanting to start amigurumi or whatever, you're just looking for some tips. Here you go. So what I've experienced this over the last month, I think will be beneficial for you. I used a tablet every time I did a written pattern, and honestly, it's so much nicer than sitting on your cell phone. Even if you have a larger cell phone, I think it's really tough. And it's so nice to be able to see like one page per screen rather than, scrolling in every 5 seconds when you're looking for the next row. And then, of course, on most tablets, you can screenshot it. And then if you have like a stylus pen or like your finger, you can just cross off the row that you've already done. I think that's really helpful. I was also using my little poppet thingy, I don't know what else to call it, to count rows on the side when I was using a written pattern. So I buy value pillows and use that as stuffing. We will talk about that in the next clip here. Safety pins make great stitch markers. So you don't like if you don't like amigurumi, I wouldn't go out and buy a whole bunch of stitch markers. I know a lot of people, they say like, oh, you need to use a stitch marker, purchase it here or use it. Like a lot of people use like a scrap of yarn, like in a different color, to mark a stitch. I think that would be kind of annoying only because you have to push it through every single time. So I just use safety pins. I have a pack of like 100 that my husband got me because I asked him for that for Christmas. I asked him for that for Christmas. And he got me like 100 pack from like Walmart. So, and they're less than $10 for 100 of them, probably less than $5 actually. So don't buy fancy stitch markers. I mean, you're welcome to if you want to, and like it's nice to support other creators, yes, but make sure you like amigurumi first. Find multiple designers and try their patterns, see what you like and dislike, and then move forward with that designer. That was a big thing for me this challenge, these 4 weeks, just because there was the one that did the toothless pattern, definitely didn't have pattern testers work their pattern, and it was really hard to work because of all the mistakes in it. And so realizing that certain designers have their patterns tested with others, I think that is really helpful. So you're gonna figure out what you like and dislike real fast. Watch videos on YouTube on amigurumi tips. I did that before I started this challenge. There's like, even if you just go into YouTube and search like tips for making amigurumi or amigurumi tips for beginners, like probably about 6 or 7 of them will come up, and I watched I think probably 6 or 7 of them, and that was really helpful. It was just about magic rings and then like chain 2 instead of a magic ring, and if your circle is starting to look a little puffy at the top when it's not supposed to, do this instead. And so very helpful. Oh, this next one I notice a typo here. I put the space in the wrong spot, but it's supposed to say starting with something worked in the round. Oh, start with something worked in the round. So yeah, I would definitely suggest that. Obviously, that's why I put it on here. So for example, like a loaf cat, you start at the nose and then you work your way to the butt. And I think that is really helpful because you don't have to sew anything on, and like the tail for the most part, I think might have been surface crocheted, or you can work it into the round easily. So I think that is really beneficial when you're starting to make amigurumi. Just start with something super, super simple. There's lots of simple patterns out there. Don't start with anything complex. Just kind of get your feet wet with like something really small and less complicated. Something that I actually haven't mentioned during week 1, 2, 3, or 4 is what I've been using for stuffing of these Amigurumi projects. So I do not use polyfill because at Walmart Canada, it's about $15, about $15 around that mark. So with tax is about $18.25-ish. And I'm not paying that because what I do, it ends up work much cheaper in the long run. I get their value pillows. So these are the Walmart Canada value pillows. The shell, so like the striped outside of the pillow is made in Pakistan, but it's formed and filled and finished in Canada. So I do like to support like Canadian companies and, you know, Canadian made. So that's been working out really well, and that's what I've always done for like stuffing and stuff. So when I first started this, when I started week 1, I had half a pillow bag, whatever you want to call this, already in my office. I had done something else previously before the series. So I finished up that one, and then yesterday I used the rest of the stuffing on this big boy, the Parasaurolophus. And then now I got to open up this pillow here. So I just wanted to talk about that because, you know, it's working out to be cheaper than a box of polyfill, and, you know, by the time I end this portion, we're at week 4, this will be just used a little bit. So that's been working out for me, and I just wanted to mention what I have been using. My Amigurumi torture challenge has come to an end. I'm gonna call it quits here after 4 weeks of this. I'm itching to start something new, and I'm feeling a bit burnt out. I didn't really want to do the pig this morning, but I'm glad I did. I did a new yarn. I did a different designer, a written pattern, for example. So I think that would kind of save me this morning, but if I did another video tutorial, I think I would have given up. It's too much Amigurumi. And of course, you know, I was still working on other things, you know, in the meantime. I had to do some swatches for my former workplace, and I was working on blankets, I was working on some sweaters, some swimsuit cover-ups, and yeah, so enough Amigurumi for now. I think I will make Amigurumi in the future. I don't plan on, you know, making like a crap ton and then selling them at markets. Like, that's not in my plan. But, you know, if I wanted to make some extra money or something in the summer and maybe do some markets or whatever, then I would do Amigurumi for sure, because I can't really sell my big comfy cozy sweaters in the summer. So there you have it. So we just went through my slideshow of like my tips, likes, dislikes, but I do want to go through my top 3 favorite plushies that I made. In total, I did end up making 24 of them. I went through and I counted because I wasn't counting this entire time. But let's go through that. So you're gonna know that this is one of my favorites. I love this guy so much. If I keep any of them, well, I shouldn't say this because there are like 2 or 3 I might keep for myself, just for decorations here in my office, because why not? This one I don't think I'll take to market. This for sure is a keeper. He turned out so well, and I love that I used Bernat Baby Blanket Red Ribbon on a dragon. I've been calling him my bull dragon because to me he also looks like a bull. Like if I took off the wings, he could easily be a bull. But he's adorable, and I don't think I could sell him. Maybe for $100 I could, but nobody's gonna pay $100 for this guy. It's worth it in my opinion, but I don't think anybody would, so he's gonna stay with me. This one might surprise you, but this is also a favorite of mine. I made this in, I think, week 1, maybe week 2, and it's just a little mini kitty, and I liked how fast it was to work up. That's why it's one of my favorite things. And I didn't do anything modified on it besides add 1 row in the body. So the pattern was a written pattern, so it was really fast to work up. The ears were worked in the round, the tail was worked in the round. Bing, bang, boom, you're done. Very little stuffing required. I did get safety eyes into this one, and they snapped down just fine. Now these, I believe, are 9 or 10s. And yeah, I love this little guy, and mainly for the quickness of him was why I loved him so much. So if you're market prepping, absolutely, this was a great pattern. But I'm sure you have these in your market prep thingy file ideas already. And then my original favorite, I chose this guy as one of my favorites because he was the first one I was proud of. I still love this guy. I think if I keep, I'll probably keep these two. I probably keep the bat and the bull dragon, just because, as I said, he was the first one I was proud of, and he's just so cute. So like when I put him like this, it's like we're 2 peas in a pod. So I really love this guy. I shouldn't say I probably will keep him, because I'm going to keep him, so I'm going to keep him too. So 2 out of my 3 favorites are definitely keepers. I don't know where in my office I'm going to keep them, probably on my yarn shelves, just because where else am I going to put them? And I have to keep them up high because Larry, my dog, thinks that they are for him every time I complete one. He's looking at it like, is it mine? Is it mine? So someday I'll make him like a little crocheted ball or something. I also want to talk about my least favorite pattern slash design. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm going to pull out here. Is this little monster. I hated this so much. The tutorial, like the video tutorial was, when I first looked at it, I was like, okay, yeah, that looks pretty simple, cool, whatever. But I didn't realize that you had to you did all of these little tiny pieces separately and then sewed them in. And I'm like, that could have been worked into the round, just like this little guy. Basically it's the exact same thing, but this one's just well constructed, like designed. And this one, everything was separate, including the tail, the 2 ears, the feet. I don't think I could even sell this for 50 cents. I mean, I'll take it to a market and maybe somebody will be like, ooh, look, a little monster. I'll pay you $5 for it. No problem. So that was my least favorite one because of the way it was constructed. And I will show you one more least favorite. It's not the dragon that I ended up with. It was the tutorial that was really tough because you could tell this designer didn't have anybody test their patterns and there was just too many mistakes. So I had to freehand a lot of it myself. And this was in week 1 or week 2, I think possibly week 1. And it was really difficult. But eventually, I got him how I want him now, and just, he turned out great, but it was just really complex and complicated, and I wouldn't follow that tutorial again. I would love to do a different dragon. Like, dragons are super popular and in right now, so at some point I'll make a different dragon. But this tutorial, I wish I hadn't followed it, but, oh well. I didn't do any more of that designer's patterns for that exact reason. But it was nice to try different designers and stuff throughout all of this. And just like that, another month-long series comes to an end. I appreciate you guys watching my videos. Doing these month-long challenges, honestly, are the most fun for Larry and I. He really enjoys helping, and it's something to focus on. And that being said, during this time of unemployment, making these videos honestly has been my saving grace because, if I didn't have these videos to film, sure, I'd be making some amigurumi thingies, to challenge myself and stuff, but this has been a great motivational tool, and just having something to focus on has been really, really handy. There are days where I didn't film anything, and I'm like, I don't feel like it was a waste of a day, but it's like I had nothing to show for accomplishments, and I'm very much like somebody who likes to work on something and then have something to show, for it. Like, a lot of people read books, and that's fine, whatever. I like listening to audiobooks as I'm crocheting sometimes, depending on the pattern. But, you don't have anything to show for it in the end besides, your list. That's just an example type thing. Or, if you bake cupcakes and you eat them all, you have nothing to show for it. So I've always been more of like a physical crafter type thing. So my old sewing business, I could whip out 20 pairs of kids' pants in a day. That was my accomplishment. And that's what I'm trying to say. So everybody has their own hobbies. A lot of people have multiple hobbies, but I really like crocheting and knitting right now, and I think it's been a saving grace during this time of unemployment. I have until mid-May to find a new position, job, career, I don't know yet. I do have some job offers already that are kind of in my back pocket, and both those people are fine with that. They know my situation and stuff. So it's been a challenge, but it's been nice to focus on this YouTube series. I said in week 1, I originally was going to do this Amigurumi challenge in April, and I was going to call it April's for Amigurumi or something like that, So when I lost my job, I was like, well, I guess I can do this now. And I'm glad I did it now, because I think doing this like after work on the evenings, some of these plushies take me 2 to 3 hours depending on the pattern and stuff. So I think that would have been really tough to do, and definitely more distracting, because, in the evenings you have to make supper, do a little bit of housework, take care of like the dogs and stuff, and there's a lot. So I'm glad I was able to do it during the day, and blessing and a curse, of course, with my job loss. I have started applying for other positions just to see what's out there, see like what I would be interested in, because honestly I have no idea. My careers have never really stayed the same, or like jobs or whatever. I was in healthcare for a long time, and then I had an injury, so I left it to work on my sewing business, which I ran full-time for, I think 6 out of the 12 years was full-time, and then I sold it, and then I was a receptionist, and then here I am unemployed. So I don't know what I want to do next, but eventually I'll figure it out. My husband was like, can't you crochet full-time? Like, you did it with sewing. And I was like, well, sewing, you could pump out 20 projects in a day. And like, the whole reason I closed and sold my sewing business is because of the pandemic. It took away all of my sales, because people aren't spending still even on, non-essential items. So no, I don't feel like I could make crochet work full-time. And I know a lot of people, most crochet people say like you have to sell your patterns in order to be profitable. And I understand that, but I have no interest in writing a pattern. If I wrote a pattern, it'd basically be 3 lines of, just do this. And that's not for me. Well, I'm happy to support other people in their pattern making and, trying out their patterns and stuff. And, if I can give tips or help to anybody, then more than happy to do it, depending on time and stuff. And yeah, that's just where my thoughts and everything is at right now. Bit of a limbo. Next week, you're going to see a yarn/project haul from a friend of mine. She showed up at my door one night, and she had said, hey, so my husband's grandma passed away, and we got all this yarn and projects from her, but my daughter doesn't want to use it. Do you want it? And I said, well, no, but like what I don't use, if I do keep something, I'll let you know, but if not, I'll donate all of it to the charity that I support. So you'll see that I went through that yarn haul/project haul, and then you'll see the results of what I kept and what I didn't keep. So that's next week. And then the week after that, we're back to our regular scheduled programming of, just projects. And I have everything planned for 2025. I think I might have 2 or 3 weeks that I'm not sure of yet, like for videos. But for the most part, I have my year planned out, and I do plan to stick with YouTube, even when I get a new position. Of course, that's going to depend on what the new position/job career is, so, but I don't see myself giving it up anytime soon, because this is my creative outlet. Sure, I can, talk to my husband about these things, but, he knows no idea about, like, these plushies, and, like, he watches some YouTube channels with me, watches, like, he's in the room while I'm watching them, let's put it that way. If you have a male spouse, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I just said to him last night, I was like, so I was talking about my least favorites and like what I enjoyed making, what I didn't enjoy making. And he's like, And I said, well, with that toothless dragon, I said, I really want to crochet like a Diddy dragon, or like those little mini fury dragons people are designing. And he was and I was like, you know what I mean? And he was like, no. I was like, yeah, okay, I guess you don't know what I mean. So, it's, I would love to talk to him about these things, and I do, but he just doesn't get it. And, I do have my crochet group of friends that, do get it, which is nice. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. The last thing I do want to mention is I am in the description of this video, week 4. I'm going to put like another little subsection typed links, whatever, of those that I think are market prep friendly. So I know a lot of people are looking for those things. Something I did say to my husband just last night was, I don't understand how people can sit here and make 15 of one item in like one evening. I know a lot of people like bash crochet and like, you make like 30 ears at a time, 20 legs at a time. But No, thank you. I'm making one of these per day. The only time I did 2 was when I did that little dinosaur for my sister, and then the goose in the same day, because the goose is probably like a 30-minute make. So I just don't understand how people can do that. But again, thank you so much for watching my videos. I really do appreciate it. This has been a saving grace during my unemployment. So please remember that you are strong, you are beautiful, you are loved, and the world appreciates having you here.